The investment that we're announcing today is another investment in Australia's security. This takes our investment in Australia's biosecurity since October last year to $1.25 billion. That's how serious the Australian government is about protecting brand Australia, protecting those beef producers that are here today and making sure that we are using the cutting-edge technology we need to make sure that we are keeping those pests and diseases out. And there is a congestion of them sitting in Southeast Asia that are threatening and evolving, and we have to evolve our efforts with it. And that's why the package that we're putting out today will go to evolve our biosecurity measures to make sure that they're fit for purpose and fit for the future. It's also about working with the states, and part of the money is about making sure that we can run a national exercise whereby we can simulate a outbreak of foot and mouth disease or AFS across the country and make sure that our state counterparts are able to work with us to ensure that we can lock it down as quickly as we can trace it, and we can protect as many producers as we possibly can. It's also about the more boots and more paws on the ground. We've increased the number of dogs in our quarantine centres right across our ports and airports, and we're also making sure we're putting more men and women out there detecting, making the detections. But also the scientists. It's important you understand that we are able to do the science quickly to identify the threat. And that means that we're then able to make real-time decisions about how we're going to address that threat. But we're also now engaging for the first time in real technology that's going to give us increased capacity of being able to look at more parcels, more bags, more containers, 3D X-rays, where we have now the first nation in the world to crack the algorithms that will now be able to look at every port that comes through an airport, every parcel that comes through our mail centres. We'll be able to actually identify whether there's organic matter, and in fact we're going to take it to be able to identify whether there's any live animals in it as well. We'll be then working with Border Force to make sure that we can use this technology to share, so that we'll take the biosecurity risk, they'll take the risk to our nation with guns and contraband. So these are the practical solutions about getting value for money to the Australian taxpayer, using the technology we need to continue to invest. And we're also working on our screening program and working with other nations so that if someone wants to come into this country, we will know what's in their bag before they even get here, and we will then act accordingly. Our biosecurity is predicated on intelligence and technology. We need the intelligence to understand what's coming into this country, and that's making sure that we can understand what's coming in parcels, but also people's bags. And we'll also be going back and looking at the containers. We'll be going to over 8.5 million containers that need to be checked. A percentage of those will have to be checked over the coming decade. And so we need to know where they've been beforehand. So we're not just looking at the trip they've just made, we're going deep back into their history and their life to make sure that if they happen to be in a paddock in Africa some 4 or 5 years ago, then we know that that poses a risk to Australia. And then we will obviously put the resources in to make sure that we can protect that. But what we're also saying is that to everybody, you all have a responsibility. And if you don't declare, we're going to square up with you. And in fact, we've already cancelled 14 visas of people who have failed to declare products in their bags, and they are not welcome back to this country for 3 years. We have also increased the penalties from $444 to $2,664, and we now have legislation in Parliament for importers who also have a significant responsibility in this, in taking their fines from $400,000 odd to over $1 million, and the privilege to stay at Her Majesty's pleasure for up to 10 years. We are taking this seriously, and we need to understand the threats that biosecurity pose to not just agriculture but our environment. A foot and mouth disease would cost us around $52 billion, and beef, this event, would basically be non-existent for years to come. So these are the extreme measures that we're prepared to take, and we're going to send a very strong message, not just with our dollars, but also our actions, in making sure everyone understands that they have a responsibility, and if they don't declare, we're going to catch you and we're going to come after you.